I'm here to challenge your faith. But when I say challenge your faith, it means not to undermine it or to hurt it, but I'm there to challenge it to strengthen it. And maybe and that's what I'm trying to do. And so yeah, I'm going to push on you and make you feel uncomfortable as a person of faith, but I'm not doing that because I want to destroy your faith. I actually want to do it so that you have a stronger faith coming out of it than coming in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ladder Daily Digest. I'm Gene Judson, and co-hosting with me today is Maven Brody. Hi, Maven. How you doing?
Good, good. Glad to be here.
Today, we're here to introduce Steve Pinecker's new project that he's got going, and we'll bring Steve on right now.
Yeah, for some of you, Steve is a familiar face. And he's one of our first interviews right before I was able to hop on.
And
Well,
so,
But
Steve, you've been working with the Utah Interfaith Forum. That's a Facebook group, and I understand you're going to try to do a new project with that. What is that all about?
well, first of all, Gene and Maven, thank you so much for having me on the program today. You're two of the most awesome people I know, and I'm really excited about this endeavor that you guys are embarking upon. And of course, what I thought was to be a unaired pilot episode of this show ended up being aired on your program as the first episode. And so I'm proud that I will always be the first. Nobody can take that away from me. And so I'm excited about your project. So Godspeed on your whole endeavor. So basically, many of you know, of course, I'm the host of Mormon Book Reviews. We're an Evangelical Encounters the Restoration, and I have been doing something that I didn't realize I was doing until very recently, and that is what I've been doing is what is called interfaith work. Now, of course, it's obvious now that I was, but I didn't look at myself as being an interfaith person. I just looked at myself as an evangelical who thinks Mormonism is really cool. And I love the people of the restoration, people who are part of it, and also people maybe who have moved on from it, but are still attached to it. I'm very much just love the entire community. I love the Mormon Stories community, and I love Rod Meldrum's community. I love and everybody in between, you know? And so I've been able to be the neutral. They call me the Switzerland of Mormonism. Well, one of the things that I thought was really important to me was early on, I thought, boy, this is really, for me, this is easy. You know, I can have this neutral, safe space that people can come from all different backgrounds, from the far left to the far right, to conservative to atheist, to Christian to Jewish to Catholic to Latter-day Saint, and all these various groups. And I've had some of the most prominent atheists come on my program, some of the most prominent top scholars of Mormonism come on, Christian scholars come on, all these different groups of people. And everybody, no matter what position they're in this world, all would say that Steve treated me fairly and gave me a fair shot to say my piece on his show. And I really felt like, wow, this is how it can be done, because evangelicals and Mormons have for 200 years been at war with each other. And I came from the enemy camp with a peace offering. So let's talk. And I'm thinking, even while I'm doing this, even early on, I was like, you know, this can be done in other areas too. We can have these same adult type conversations in the political realm, but also in even, you know, in all different areas. Like, our country is divided. It's a mess. And we need to be able to have the ability to talk to each other. And there aren't like literally there's nothing out there. There's no place where people can go where both liberals and conservatives can all watch and say, well, this is a fair person. You don't see that in any of our network news. It's all, everybody's siloed in their own places. But what makes my channel so unique is that literally I have, like, at one point, I think I had like a third of my audience were atheists. I don't know if it's that high now, but a third of my audience is atheist. My largest single group are probably conservative believing Mormons, then probably ex-Mormons, and then evangelicals. And there's this mix, but they all are treated fairly. And not only that, but I have panel discussions with people that are faithful Mormons and progressive Mormons and conservative Mormons and ex-Mormons, and have them all on the same panel and have a positive conversations. So what was so crazy was a few months ago, I got this invitation from somebody that they're starting the Utah Interfaith Forum Facebook page. And they wanted me to be a mod. Well, I was like, well, hey, you know, I really can't be, I mean, I don't have time to moderate a group, but I'll listen in and kind of say my 2 cents now and then, which is what I did. Well, then on Labor Day last month, I have this guy who started the group who wishes to remain anonymous. He's a faithful Latter-day Saint. And he said, Steve, I want you to take over the group. Now, this is the thing. Here is a Facebook group that within just a few months has over 1,000 members now. I mean, to get 1,000-member Facebook group in our world is an accomplishment, and usually
Yeah.
takes a long time, you know. So here you have this thriving group that's having these wonderful interfaith conversations, and he goes to me, he says, "Steve," he says, "all I did was model this group based on what you've been modeling on your channel. So I've been taking the principles that you have espoused about having you know, you look, you come to the table with who you are, and I'm going to treat you with respect, right? Especially if you're a good, decent person, even though I don't, 90% of my guests I disagree with being an evangelical, but yet I can have
Right.
faithful conversations, right? And so we're
As an
joined.
atheist that's been on your show, I can attest to that, to the respect and the space that you hold for everybody. So yeah.
Oh, and of course I was the one who invited you. I pursued you,
Right.
and
Yeah, yeah. I was honest. I was the one that was like, I don't know what I can do for Steve. Yeah, I don't know why he wants me on. But we had a good time, and that was a fun episode.
so what I'm doing is I'm releasing now. I'm announcing here that I'm going to be putting out a new YouTube channel called the Utah Interfaith Forum. Okay, and if you don't mind, maybe I could just share the screen. So there, folks, is the new YouTube channel, which has a grand total of 6 subscribers and 2 videos that have been posted already on my other channel. But this is, I just kind of set this up. I had Anthony just do kind of a rudimentary a logo for now, and I'm going to build it out a little bit. I've been really busy and haven't had time to really focus on it. But basically, it's called the Utah Interfaith Forum YouTube channel. And what we're going to be doing is, and just so you get an idea, like, Steve, how in the world you do 3 episodes a week on Mormon book reviews? You're constantly interviewing people. You're super busy. How in the world are you going to do another channel? And that's a very good, valid question. And the reason, my plan is to maybe do something once a month on this channel. But then I also want to open it up to have other hosts on. So I'd like to have like a Muslim interview a Jew. I'd like to have, you know, an evangelical interview an atheist, you know, and do it in a civil
Yeah.
way, kind of setting up, modeling how it's possible to have people from different groups having these conversations. So I kind of want to have, just like I have a light touch on the Utah Interfaith Forum. I kind of want to have a light touch on the channel itself. I want to kind of put it out there and put a few things out there, and then invite people to come on, and also invite prospective people that I would say might have the chops to be a really good host, to give them the opportunity to present to this. So I just want everybody here. I got a total of 6 subscribers right now. Go on YouTube and just subscribe.
I
Search for.
just went and subscribed, so I think I'm number 7.
Oh, that's really awesome. That is so cool. And so yeah, so check out my new YouTube channel. And you know, I got over 6,000 subscribers now on Mormon Book Reviews. I'm really proud of what we've been able to achieve. It's really hard, folks. People don't realize it's really hard to build a YouTube channel. It takes a long time to get. It takes a long time to get 100 subscribers. But I don't have like this idea that, well, I'm going to build another channel with tens of thousands of subscribers, anything like that. Interfaith is a very it's in itself, it's also a minefield, just like, you know, the whole Mormon landscape, whether it's Mormon scholarship or the Mormon podcast world. Those are minefields in themselves, and interfaith dialogue can be a minefield too, especially if it's not done right, or if people are like, well, let's just all get together and hold hands and sing kumbaya and we all get along. It's like, no,
Yeah.
that's really, you're not really, I really feel like, for me, like what I've been doing with Mormon book reviews is actually, I will talk about, well, this is what I believe, and this is why I would disagree with this particular Mormon doctrine, because it doesn't fit in within, you know, traditional Nicene Christianity or however. But I can do it in a way
Right.
that's not combative or condemning of the person. Just say, well, okay, you bring your beliefs to the table, and I'll be like, well, this is what I believe, or why I don't agree with that. But I don't have to call them names. I don't have to attack
Right.
them. I can just be respectful of their worldview and their beliefs. And to me, it's like this. But a lot of people don't really understand. Like, if they really want to have true conversations, it has to be a true 2-way street. The problem that we
And it's
have,
a skill, I think. I
it
think
is.
it's something, I don't know if it comes easy to you naturally, or if you've just or maybe put a lot of work into it, or both, probably a combination, I'm thinking. But
Mhm.
I think a lot of people understand the value in being able to do conversations like this, but I have seen this happen a lot where people attempt to come on each other's shows with varying points of view, and either like for Mormonism Live with the those who don't believe Joseph Smith started polygamy, that kind of fell apart. There was an attempt to do kind of a news review with Mormon stories, with
Patrick
Jana
Mason.
Reese and
Yeah.
Patrick Mason, that also kind of collapsed.
And yeah, I agree with you, Maven. It's unfortunate. Like I actually, that was one of the key things I did was with my MBR was I actually, when the whole Patrick Mason thing happened, I had a big panelist what I had to discuss it. I had people who were faithful Mormons, conservative Mormons, progressive Mormons, and ex-Mormons on this panel discussion to talk about Patrick Mason and the importance of having these types of conversation on how unfortunately it didn't work out. And the weird thing, what was so weird about that whole thing with the Patrick Mason thing was the ex-Mormons felt like John was being too faith promoting on there.
Mhm.
And the faithful Mormons felt that they were being really anti-Mormon. And I thought it was so funny how I thought, well, that's probably would have been a good space to be for that show. It would have been very fascinating to have that
Yeah.
happen. And unfortunately, after 2 episodes, it was pulled. But either way, that's just it does show that people have made attempts to do these things with varying degrees of success or not having success. So that's
Yeah.
why I think you're right. It is a minefield, Maven, and of course you've personally experienced that yourself.
Yeah, and I actually have some similar a bit of a similar background with Patrick. I'm not as far as the education and conflict resolution and peace building. I just thought it was funny when you said like people think interfaith is just like let's just hold hands and kumbaya. That was something that when I initially was introduced to peace building, that was kind of the concept that I have. This let's just get along, which is a phrase that doesn't ever actually help people get along. Really, it's kind of like telling somebody who's upset to like calm down. It's like it doesn't work. But it was the so this was a program at BYU Hawaii, and at the time it was just a certificate program. It is a full major now, I believe, but it was the most intense and rigorous amount of study that I've ever done. It's something I didn't end up pursuing because I think it takes a very mentally and emotionally strong person to be a peace builder, because you have to kind of by putting yourself in the middle, sometimes you end up getting it from both sides. And especially if we're talking about things like what's happening in the Middle East, things can get really messy. You have to be able to come to the table with the hope that even when you're sitting across from people who have done atrocious things to each other, that there's still hope, and that things can change and be healed. And that's something that I'm not quite there yet. I lose hope quite easily. So anyway, I really appreciate you being in this space. Besides the conversations, is that the I guess the main thing, or are there other things that you're hoping to achieve?
Let me just give you an example. Right before I was doing this recording, I was talking to an officer in the U.S. Navy who is one of the leading scholars of Zionism in the world, who is also Latter-day Saint, who is friends with this Christian, and I'm taping with them tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And what's so crazy is a week ago
Live?
yesterday, I'm laying in bed and I contact my friend Nehemiah, Dr. Nehemiah Gordon, one of the leading Hebrew scholars in the world. I'm like, Nehemiah, are you okay? And he's like, I've had to go down in my bomb shelter 3 times already today. He said, do you want to come? And then he's got like about 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. He says, do you want to come on my program and talk about the situation in Israel and interview me about it? So next thing you know, I'm just rolling out of bed, still wearing the clothes that I'm wearing, talking to this Jewish scholar about the situation in Jerusalem. And that's because talk about interfaith. An evangelical Christian who's doing a channel about Mormonism has one of the top goes on a Hebrew scholars program to talk about the situation in Jerusalem. And all this week I've been talking to all my sources in Israel, throughout the United States and in Israel, and talking to some of the top. I talked the other day. I did an episode with a rabbi who was just coming from Samaria, whose organization's there to help people. And then I talked to a Christian who just was on the last seat on the last plane heading out of Israel, who was on the local news when I was on my way to go interview. I'm like, oh, I'm interviewing that guy in a little bit. And so it was incredible. But then more importantly, yesterday, I'm talking on the phone with a Muslim historian and writer who lives in Gaza, who got out from his basement full of 30 people to step out so he could talk to me on the phone to give to tell what's going on in Gaza. I'm a friend of Israel. I will readily admit to being a friend of the Jewish people. I tell people there are two groups of people that I love more than any, and it is the people of the restoration, and it's the Jewish people. Okay. And so I have a real deep love for them, but I also have a real deep love for peace. And I have a heart for the Muslim people too. And so for me to have Muhammad come on to listen to Muhammad's story yesterday, and he sends me messages, text messages telling me what's going on, right? That's also important. So even when people are when we're in the middle of a war zone, and I can talk to this Muslim man who's for peace, he's for Israel's right to exist. He's very critical of Israel, but he's also very critical of Hamas. You see, I talked to him yesterday. I said, listen, when it comes to the Middle East, and this I told him on the phone, when it comes to the Middle East, there are good Jews, there are good Christians, there are good Muslims, and there are good atheists. And guess what? There's also bad ones in each one of those groups too. I said, the important thing is that the good people who want peace in the Middle East, those are the people that we need to talk to. Those are the people whose voices we need to get out. Okay? Because we got to go for the good. Whatever your belief system is, if you're in favor of peace in the Middle East and peaceful coexistence amongst these people, I don't care what position you take on other things. I think that we can find commonality on that and try to, and so I'm just by my living my life and just the people that I'm talking to is showing that it is really truly an interfaith thing. And it was really important for me to talk to this Muslim historian to get his perspective. And he's a moderate, he's not an extremist. And I also, a lot of people, Americans think, well, Gaza's just full of terrorists. Yeah, there's terrorists in Gaza, but there's also a lot of good people there too that we need to pray for, and also hear their voices too, and not let Hamas hijack the conversation, but let this Muslim also be able to have a place that he can get some of his stuff out there as well.
It's a starting place to begin to have civil discourse.
And what's important is it was one of the people in the Interfaith Forum who reached out to me and said, listen, you need to talk to Muhammad. He's a contributor in this group. And so that's how we were able to make the connection, was because of so there's actually two groups, but I don't want to cause confusion, but we actually have two groups that I'm involved in. There's the Utah Interfaith Forum, and there's also the Interfaith Forum. So I'll make sure I send links. So they're both on Facebook. They're Facebook groups. Interfaith is for broader conversations for just interfaith in general. The Utah is more Utah based, which is, what does that mean? Like Utah Interfaith, right? Well, obviously the dominant religion in Utah is the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saint. So what I'm trying to do is foster dialogue between the Latter-day Saints and other religious groups, but also I want to foster dialogue between all the other restoration groups as well. So there's hundreds of different restoration groups. We know about the Community of Christ and maybe the Church of Jesus Christ, but there's hundreds others, and I want to facilitate conversations within the restoration as well, and also foster conversations with other groups and Mormonism, right? I'm here to challenge your faith. But when I say challenge your faith, it means not to undermine it or to hurt it, but I'm there to challenge it, to strengthen it. And maybe, and that's what I'm trying to do. And so yeah, I'm going to push on you and make you feel uncomfortable as a person of faith, but I'm not doing that because I want to destroy your faith. I actually want to do it so that you have a stronger faith coming out of it than coming in. Faith is a beautiful thing, but also if it's a superficial faith, then it's one of those things where, is it really informing you like it could? See, faith can be a really good thing to have that inner dialogue, right? And also it can be an opportunity for you to be self-reflective and also to understand your place in this world and the universe and everything like that. But if your faith is so weak that just the tiniest little bit of information is there that's presented to it makes it crumble, then I have to say you never had a strong faith to begin with. And if you're using faith as to build barriers to keep you from being able to have conversations with people that are different than you, then guess what? You don't have a strong faith. See, if you have a strong faith, you can have these dialogues with people that have different beliefs than you. If you're afraid of people that have different beliefs and faith and you don't want to talk to them, then I have news for you. You have a very weak faith. You see? And so I think it's really important to look at it that way. Look, the ability to be able to fully actualize your faith or fully realize your faith and actually put it in action and be grounded in your faith, but that can be that should be able to strengthen you to then engage peoples of other faith. if you're not grounded in if you can't do that, then your faith is so weak, your foundation is built on sand. And unfortunately, so many people of faith that I know, I have built their foundation on sand, that the littlest criticism, the littlest thing that kind of goes against their little world that they live in, it challenges them. It's like, man, you need to have a strong faith. You don't have a strong faith. And these people in their minds think they have a strong faith. But if they're so
Right.
insecure to engage data that's contradicts their own worldview, then I have to say, well, no, actually, you've got a weak faith.
I've definitely been there. I feel like I understand if you grow up in a religion that's just really so singular, where it's your community and it's everything around you, like it can be for Mormonism. It's easy to think it's strong when everyone else around you agrees with you and has the same beliefs, and it seems like it's obviously the it makes the most rational sense because nobody's pushing back against it. So yeah,
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And so, and again, this happens in the evangelical world. It's very, very prevalent in our world too. And it's funny too, because like a lot of evangelicals, when I tell them what I'm doing, but yeah, I'm having conversations with Mormons. They're like, "Well, you're trying to convert them?" I'm like, "No, I'm just having conversations with Mormons. I'm making friends with them." They're like,
it's
"But
a
I don't."
projection, I think.
Does not compute. Does not compute. Well, wait a second. Are you going to be a Mormon? No, no, you don't get it. I mean, I am a Christian who's having conversations with members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and many other branches of the Restoration. I said, this is what I feel like I'm called by God to do this. I do believe it. I do believe that God's hand is on this endeavor. Okay. Now, this,
Yeah.
speaking as somebody who wasn't that long ago, was a pretty hardcore agnostic / atheist. I don't know how or why I ended up here, to be honest with you. It's honestly, I couldn't have planned any of this. I didn't plan on doing interfaith. Interfaith didn't even enter into that wasn't even part of my lexicon. And then this guy says, no, that's what you're doing, is you're doing interfaith. So I want to thank the
I knew
founder.
that's what you were doing. So that was funny to me that you said that it hadn't occurred to you. I've seen you from the beginning since I've known you as
Yeah,
somebody who's an interfaith
I just
worker,
never
a bridge
thought of my.
builder.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how people would see
Yeah.
that, and it was obvious that I was. I just didn't think of it until this guy says, no, you're doing interfaith stuff, and I'm going to give you this interfaith group. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I am doing interfaith. I just never thought of it. I just thought of, hey, I'm just some, giddy
Yeah.
fanboy of
You're
Mormonism
just
that
passionate.
gets
Yeah.
Richard
Yep.
Bushman, and it's like that to me was what it was. It was just, I was fanboying the whole thing a little bit, was what it was, but now I'm realizing, oh, there's more, there's important things that are happening in the work that I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't even see it. Somebody else caught the vision of it before I did. Like, oh yeah.
We're excited about your channel that you have, and we're hoping that our viewers will go check it out. Check out the Utah Interfaith Forum. And is there anything else to say, Maven?
I don't think so. I'm just happy to be subscriber number 7. It'll be interesting to see where it's at when our audience sees this episode. And then I guess I do want to make sure, Steve, did we cover everything that you wanted to cover about this? Or are there any other messages or things you want to say about this effort that you
Well,
would want the audience to
I
know?
just put my YouTube channel back in the box there. So when we pop that up on the screen, just as one more reminder. So it's the Utah Interfaith Forum. It still shows 6 subscribers, but let me see if I can wait.
Maybe.
I got 7
There.
now. To refresh
That's
it.
me.
So
Yay.
I got
Okay.
7 subscribers to Utah Interfaith Forum, and I want to thank you. We know we have documented that Maven is subscriber number 7 to Utah Interfaith Forum. So I want you to check out the YouTube channel. Like I said, we're looking at having a lot of different guest hosts. I will probably do something like once a month to get this thing going. As a matter of fact, I talked to a man of a Christian organization and told him, hey, I think it would be a really good conversation we can have on that channel. So I'll probably have a lot of some of the guests I've had on previous episodes. Also, Leah Merritt, who's the BYU student, who's part of the Interfaith Forum. She's one of the few, she's an evangelical student at Brigham Young University, and she's part of the Interfaith Forum at BYU. It actually has a YouTube channel that talks about the non-member project at BYU, which she interviews non-members who are students at BYU who are not members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and gives them a forum. So I'll probably have Leah come on as well to talk
That's
about her
cool.
work. So there's a lot of, and I want to talk to different faith leaders in the state of Utah as well. So, you know, I really appreciate you guys taking the time here to have this guy on there. I mean, I'm just some small potatoes guy. I mean, freaking 7 subscribers, and you took the time of your day to go to this little tiny YouTuber that nobody's ever heard of with this tiny little channel, and gave me a platform. And I will forever be grateful to you two for allowing this to be help launch the Utah Interfaith Forum.
Always a pleasure. And I love that you're building us up as if we're this big thing doing something for you, when really it's the reverse. But that lines up with the who you are and how I know you to be. So I'm grateful for our friendship, and I'm grateful that you're doing this, and I'm grateful you came on.
Well, thank you.
That's right. We love Steve.
I love all of you. I love everybody. I love everybody in the whole
Perfect.
podcast world. You're all awesome. Okay. And I appreciate both of you. You guys are
Have a
great.
pomegranate.
Yeah. And you've both been on my show, and it's great to have you guys. And we'll try to get you on maybe on my new channel too one of these days. We'll check it out. So this is great.
I would love that.
That's great.
Thanks, Steve. And
Thank you
thanks
very
for
much,
joining us,
everybody.
everybody.